Okay, welcome back to Block Party number 18, Collective Intelligence Block Party number 18. And let's see, I'm trying to do this screen sharing, having a little bit of technical issues. Wonder if I can do something about that. Let me try, and I will let you know. Let me just see if I can. All right, I'm going to try one more time and see how it goes. So bear with me, please. I'm going to pause recording in the meantime. Okay, after a brief pause, let me just do a sketch here on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. Imagine a pyramid, okay? And in fact, yeah, that's a good way of doing it. Okay, imagine a pyramid where basically what we're dealing with here, this entire pyramid consists of basically all of the social and ecological and I'll just put humane in the richest sense of the world, including, of course, humane treatment of animals and all life. And I'm just going to call this social and ecological and humane progression, being that which is maximally progressive, right? I'll just put equals progressive, right? So all of the socially and ecologically and humanely progressive things we could possibly do. Everything from ending racism to making sure everyone has plenty to eat to ending all violence against all, species, ecosystems, etc. Welcome back, Ace. We are doing a little pyramid drawing here of basically imagine this entire pyramid consists of each and every single program you could possibly imagine, right? This one's this one program, this other one's this huge program that might be like ending racism, for example. And of course, that's deeply connected to so many other facets, right, in the pyramid, so many other programs and objectives and missions, right? So I'm just saying, let's say this is the whole thing, ending violence, which is closely connected to that, right, is another huge portion, and everything else. Okay. One of the points I'm going to make here is that the base of this pyramid is food, right? And specifically plant-based. And, there are other criterion such as, organic, holistic, all those things. I'm just going to put ... and really, meaning all the usual suspects, okay? And my point here, and this point's been made throughout history that, and I forget what the exact quote is, but it's basically like before you can have any morals, your belly has to be full, right? Simple as that. If you're hungry, if your kids are hungry, and you have to break the law and steal in order to feed your kids, like Jean Valjean of Les Miserables, you're going to do it, right? So food first. And then what I want to add on top of that is that there's actually a layer beneath that, which in turn directly supports food, right? And what is that? And that's, in very simple terms, the ability to grow food. And that means a cool planet. We need a cool planet. And that means, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we need SRM now. There is no other way to cool the planet than through SRM, period. That's it. And so now, but what's interesting here is this actually becomes somewhat circular, right? Because in order to, and I'm just going to put at the top of the pyramid, I'm going to put CSI plus plus. Y'all see that? And what I'm really meaning to say there is that it's collective superintelligence. See, we need to get rid of racism and violence and all the things that are keeping us divided if we're going to come together and form a planetary collective superintelligence. And please stop me if you have any questions at any time. More questions are better, because if you're having the question, chances are other people are as well, whether they're live here with us right now or watching the video later. And if I forgot to say welcome back, Ace, welcome back, Ace. I know I've said it a couple times, but sometimes the audio takes a little bit to kick in. So just jump in, either via text. Hey, buddy, good to see you. So, or just speak up, because when I'm screen sharing, it's hard for me to see you all, right? Okay. So here's what I want to say is that in order to do SRM, we could even call this a paradox. I suppose I might try something here. Oops. Okay. Okay. Here's what I'm going to say is, suppose that we take this whole portion of the pyramid and we say, you know what, in order to cool the planet through SRM, we need this whole upper portion of the pyramid. We basically need to be a working humanity in order for us to be able to organize ourselves and come to agreement about SRM, right? Because let's face it, just as terrorists will strike wherever they think it'll hurt the most, if we, the relatively privileged, just go out there and do SRM and say, look, we'll come back and help humanity later. We'll help you eat, and we'll help end violence and racism and all this stuff later. But for now, we're going to just let all that bad stuff continue, the hunger, the violence, etc. And we're just going to focus on SRM. You know what happened? The rest of the world's going to say, forget it, Jack. If you're not going to take care, if you don't care about all of us. Okay, hey Deborah, great to see you, and come back anytime. We'll be here for another 18 hours or so, something like that. So just come back anytime. All right. And so that, exactly as I said, if we want to do SRM, we got to make sure we take care of everyone, because if we're not taking care of everyone and just doing some planetary project, seemingly just for the benefit of the privileged, right? The rest of the folks are going to revolt against it, and they might sabotage it, destroy it. There might be resource wars and everything else. If we don't take care of people, they're going to get angry. They're not going to like it. I kind of feel like I'm stating the obvious here, right? So now, is this a paradox? Does this represent a no-win situation? Because, if we need the very bottom layer, SRM, in order to produce food, in order to have the top layer, the top of the pyramid work, that we really be totally progressive or maximally progressive across all these different fronts. And we need all that in order to do SRM in the first place. It's kind of like a chicken and egg problem. And my answer to that challenge is as follows. I'll just draw this in green, a big green arrow that simply says, start here, right? because we have enough food to feed everyone today, right? Especially with the contraction of the meat industry. I don't want to sing victory before it's time, but it looks like the meat industry is going down. So there's plenty of food to feed people. And so that seems like the obvious place to start, because with that, we address the whole top of the pyramid, right? Let's see, let me just sketch here. There we go. Okay. So the food will support the whole rest of the top of the pyramid, all this up here. And with that taken care of, okay, then we can go on down and boom, do SRM at scale. I mean, I'm all in favor of doing SRM right now, ASAP. And I'm also, let's see here. I'm also, you know, trying to be realistic in that it's just very hard to get the world to unite around anything when it's so divided. I mean, I just feel like I'm stating the obvious, right? Sarah, yes, you got your hand up. Go for it. And welcome back, Bodo. Go for it, Sarah. I think you might be on mute. Yeah, your microphone's muted, Sarah.
Yeah, my question is, who is working on solar radiation management besides yourself and Guy McPherson, possibly? Who else is working on it? Like, for real? Like, this is a serious question.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Sarah, you were with us on Wednesday, right, for the Spanish English session?
Yes, that was driving me crazy, but yes, I was there.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you were there the whole time and that you.
Yeah, I started reading all his papers and stuff. That's why I'm asking you these questions, because it seems like seriously, like, why isn't this the number one thing right now? Obviously, the stock market is, but you know what I mean.
Well, no, the stock market is totally not the number one thing. I mean,
that's
no, but
a joke.
I do know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like, 99% of the world just only cares about the almighty dollar. I was thinking about this all night long about what to do, you know, because people are addicted to money. That's why they can't go to the new system. I mean, it's not even a new system. That's why they can't get off the old system, because they're literally addicted to it, because the way they get their food through the government. I mean, the way they get their housing is through the government. This is ridiculous. The government is controlling everything now, even the police state. And the food, they're going to be controlling the food. Watch. They're going to be controlling all the food and the crops. We're about to have a food scarcity, like he said.
Yeah. Yeah. No, things are just getting just horrifically bad. There's just there's no nice way to say it, which is why I do everything I do, including this 24-hour block party, so that we can, here, I'm going to screen share and play a video for you all here in a moment that actually directly answers your question, Sarah, but also in a very nice way, I hope. Here, sorry, I'm just taking care of technicals, making sure everything's still working. Yes. Okay. All right. So screen sharing a video. Okay. Okay. This video that I'm about to play. Oh, whoops! I need to mute my microphone there. I'm just realizing. Wait. Yeah, we're getting some echo. Now, why the heck would that be? I did mute my microphone there. Well, that's just weird. Okay. Oh, I know, because we got some volume going on. Okay. All right. This video that I'm about to share is about, I identify the different solutions for solar radiation management and some of the different groups that are working on these solutions, including 2 different groups at Harvard working on 2 different approaches to this. One is Dr. Ye Tao and his group, and he's also recruited like a couple dozen students from around the country. And the other is Professor David Keith, who is funded by Bill Gates and is promoting spraying stuff into the atmosphere to increase reflectivity up there as opposed to at the surface. Okay. And so I had suggested that we get together with Professor Keith and form, some form of, kind of a united front around solar radiation management. Well, Dr. Tao reached out to David Keith, sent him an email. Dr. Keith replied, they went back and forth, and Ye Tao sent me the thread. And it doesn't paint a pretty picture in terms of collaboration, which is why I so passionately make the following case. And now I'll share this video. Please enjoy.
Can you let me in on the other device? Okay, I'm switching devices, so give me a second.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Okay, I switched devices. It's good.
Okay, great, Sarah. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So screen sharing this video now. This is a message that I sent to Guy and Pauline and Ye. Thank you so much for copying me on the email thread, which I'm forwarding along with this video. And I have some thoughts about, first, he says, I'm skeptical that surface-based mirrors make environmental sense. It seems very likely they will end up having more environmental impact per unit. Sorry, I'm sorry. Hello, good morning, Guy, Pauline, and Ye. Ye, thank you so much for copying me on the email thread, which I'm forwarding along with this video. And I have some thoughts about what David Keith is saying, so I'll just put those on the table first. He says, I'm skeptical that surface-based mirrors make environmental sense. It seems very likely they will end up having more environmental impact per unit benefit than other options. And what, let me know if there's anything else written, I'd be interested to learn a bit more, whatever. I mean, he's being standoffish. What needs to happen is a conversation between Professor Keith and Ye, right? And I would say that more broadly, what we really urgently need is to have a conversation between the 4 of us, Professor Keith, the ICE 9/11 folks, and any other significant players in this space who we think we might want to invite. I really loved the team we put together last year, and I think we should continue to do that. What I'm offering is let's go ahead and put together a proposal for a meeting, send it out to all these folks. Whoever accepts, accepts. Whoever doesn't accept, I bet you they'll probably watch the video, which we can send them after we have the meeting. And the basic point of it is, look, we're doing Mother Earth, humanity, and all of life on Earth a huge disservice by delaying the inevitable conversation, which basically goes like this. We need to cool the planet. SRM is the only way. We basically got 5 major options on the table, 6 if you include urban, but I see urban as more like an on-ramp to this whole thing. So it's an important part. So 6 with urban. You got the big guns of, Ye, your solution, that's the preeminent one. We've got to cool the planet by breaking out the big guns of millions of square miles of reflectivity deployed on the oceans. ICE 9/11 is very important for preserving existing ice, the golf ball size, hollow, spherical silica spheres, floating spheres, contained by oil booms surrounding the Arctic is, I think, a super cool way, pardon the pun, to refreeze the Arctic, to cool the Arctic waters there. And then, of course, we've got desert reflectivity, as we've talked about, with the obvious disadvantages. And then we've got, Dr. Keith's and Bill Gates spraying shit into the atmosphere. I think it's, and then number 6 is, the urban. So I think it's fairly obvious that we're going to need some sort of mix, dare I say optimal mix. There's got to be an optimal mix out there. But if we can't get past the level of being standoffish relative to each other and saying, well, you know, let me first read what you got and then I'll think about it for a few months and see what holes I can poke in it. Look, at some point we have to get over it. You know, at boy meets girl, at some point the two have to kiss. Humanity kissing is humanity in conversation about this, where we bring together the aforementioned. Look, Guy, you're the #1 leading expert in the world on the diagnosis of the problem. So we need you at the table. Yay, you're the #1 leading expert in the solution to the problem. And then, you know, you've got the rest of us who play important parts, who play important roles, right? And then there are other experts. I'm sure Dr. Keith has a lot to bring to the table. Among other things, he's got Bill Gates to bring to the table. And Bill Gates has a lot of friends with a lot of money. So if we can come together as a united front and commit to figuring this thing out holistically, right? And then say, listen, world, the headline is we need SRM. Of course, there's analysis and heaven forbid, disagreement between the different approaches. We're working together to find the optimal mix, and we're doing global holistic modeling that doesn't just model heat, models a bunch of things, acidity and concentration of myriad gases and whatnot. Because ultimately, and we need to find a holistic solution to everything. I'm in total agreement. Let's start with SRM. I've got a lot more to say about a lot of other topics. I've got to kick off the Solution Club now. You're all invited, so please come. And let me know what you think about, you know, putting out an invitation to all these different folks and having just a big SRM meeting with a view to creating a united front and simultaneously communicating to the world, hey, world, you know, join us on the SRM mission, right? Because we need people's support. We need to give them a community that they can join, right? And in parallel, we'll be doing the global holistic modeling and everything else to find the optimal mix. And let's not go in there with attachment that, no, my solution's better than yours. Let's lay down our arms already. Let's have like a ceasefire. Present a united front to the world, right? And then once we get the world in on the SRM thing, okay, then now we bring in everybody and say, okay, let's do objective, science-based, global holistic modeling and figure out the best mix of solutions. Anyway, let's do it. Time's running out, and this is, for me, the most urgent thing of all, because it's what brings us all together, what has the potential to. More soon. Love you all, and please let me know what you think. Thank you. All right. And Sarah, thanks for your comment there. Yeah, that we definitely need to get this out, this information to the masses. But here's the thing. So you've got a number of significant solutions that have been proposed, including from, you know, brand new solutions from two of the people in this room, myself and Emery. So you have a number of different solutions and a number of different groups or individuals working on these different solutions. And the landscape looks much more, unfortunately, like a competition right now than a cooperation. And I just want to give a quick shout out to here, I'll just pause recording for a second. And Sarah is asking the question, you know, how do you get them together? So just like I proposed on the video, I think the way to get these different groups together is, and this is something we can collectively work on now. So I'm putting the question back to everyone, to you, Sarah, to everyone here. How do we do this? Let's all figure it out together. I'm not putting it back to you. I'm putting it back to us as a collective intelligence. So, but I'll fire the first shot since I've been thinking about it a bit. Is that I send an email to, you know, Ye Tao, who I know well, Guy McPherson, who I know super well, his partner Pauline, Dr. David Keith at Harvard, Emory, the ICE 9/11 folks, and frankly, any other really significant, you know, expert in any aspect of either the problem or the solution of SRM, any different solution within the broad tent of SRM and say, look, everyone, I'm inviting you all to an exploratory meeting with a view to determining, can we create a united front that says to the world, look, there's a lot of different solutions for how to do SRM, but we have a singular message for you, world. We urgently need to do SRM, urgently, super urgently, or we're all going to die very soon. You know, that's the message. There's an asteroid coming towards the planet that's going to kill us all. The good news is we can block it very effectively and very thoroughly, very satisfactorily with SRM. It's as simple as that. So we start with a singular message that does not require that we have this knockdown, drag out competition between the different competing solutions. I'd actually like to look at it more like cooperating solutions, because in the end, we're going to end up with a mix of solutions that are going to have to cooperate and interoperate. So let's not make it a competition at this point. Let's make it a cooperation where we bring all these different individuals and groups together. And we have a meeting, we have an exploratory meeting about creating this united front, a united front to cool the planet. A united front to cool the planet, where we deliver a singular message to the world, and we do it in the form of a press conference, right? And for example, if David Keith, who's definitely got Bill Gates's ear, can say, hey, Bill, we need you here at the press conference. We're doing it via Zoom. We just need you to say a few words about the urgency of SRM and your support for SRM, for example, right? That'll get the world's attention. Bill Gates supports solution to cool the planet. I mean, that's a headline right there. And the fact that it's led by a professor at Harvard, right? Wow. But again, the bigger context for this is I'm saying Professor Keith at Harvard, who's funded by Bill Gates, who has a form of SRM, again, by spraying stuff into the atmosphere. It's not being implemented yet. They've just been doing research on it. Hey, Professor Keith, would you be interested in forming a united front so that we can all get together and all row in the same direction? And then, of course, that the public message is singular and simple. Down in the underground James Bond, laboratory, MI6 laboratory headed by Q, there we work together to figure out what's the optimal mix. But we don't have to air that dirty laundry. Not that there's anything dirty about it, but we don't have to burden the world with that laundry. Let's just take care of it ourselves. Emery, you got your hand raised. Go for it.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. It's not to burden the world, but as the public, as the collective intelligence over here gets everything together, I think it's crucial that we understand that the information and the message needs to touch all countries, and there's a language barrier. There's a language barrier also that needs to be dealt with, right? And you've got the representatives of these countries at the UN. They need to be arm twisted, apparently, to start doing stuff, And I see the meeting with Guy the other day, where we had the languages translating. We had Jim translating is like a good example of how we there's a need to have a communication refined in the sense that people of all countries, all languages are receiving the message, receiving the information, and can participate in the solution, okay, in enacting and engaging the solutions that are put on the table, okay, funding the operations that are needed, and that goes all the way to, you know, feet on the ground, equipment, and you name it. It's all got to be a planetary effort, and we have to get the whole planet engaged. That's part of the key. Of course, you know, a lot of it are the ideas that are going to have to be, you know, they're going to have to be explained and presented so people could understand them and get on board. That's all I got for now.
Yeah, totally. Couldn't agree more, Emery. And but you see, right now, the unfortunate reality is that, wait, I got to take this call super quick. I'll pause recording and okay. So yeah, really great points, Emery. To get the world together, see, right now the SRM community is basically like a fragmented, dysfunctional family that's not even a family anymore. They're not even living in the same house anymore. In fact, they're not even living in the same city. They don't talk to each other, right? They're related in DNA only, but they're not even talking with each other. That's the SRM community for you in a nutshell. It's a non-community, and a non-community is a non-starter for starting a revolution and starting a planetary movement. Just to be perfectly clear here, everyone, what we are talking about is nothing other than the solution to cooling the planet and saving life on Earth in the next 12 months. And if we don't do it in the next 12 months, it's over. I hate to say it, but it's looking like it's over. And the community that's supporting SRM, again, it's a non-community. So this is an emergency underlying an emergency, right? Sarah says the SRM community needs to have unity. I couldn't agree with you more. You know what this is like? This is like there's a major fire in a big house, 20 kids are in the attic, they can't get out. And you go down the street to the fire department, you know, where the alarm is going off, and you stick inside. It's like, where are the firefighters? Why aren't they there fighting the fire? And they're all like fighting each other. Like there's different gangs within the fire, and they're just like throwing bottles at each other. A couple of people are in a fist fight, others are wrestling. They're fighting. They're a non-community. We need them together, united, in order to put out the fire. Help me out. Who is next? I think let's let Sarah go, followed by Emery. Go for it, Sarah.
My question is pretty just straight out there, and I really do appreciate honesty when a lot of people don't want to say what the truth is. But personally, I welcome it. I want for Vegan World 2026 to come, obviously sooner than anybody, you know, that's what I always think every day. But my thing is that I want to read something where what you're saying is validated, because I welcome that. For me, I want for the humans to leave the earth, because I just do. I mean, it can't come sooner for me. I literally think about it every day. Like, okay, in the next few years, I shouldn't worry about this because we're not even going to be here. Because I like that proof. I like to look at the numbers and say, okay, this is true because 1 + 1 does equal 2. Here's the proof. So I like to see that when you say what you're saying with conviction. I want you to say that and then me read a paper that really confirms that. Even if people don't listen and then we are wiped off of the earth, I do like to know that beforehand. I mean, nobody can predict the future, of course, but I do like to see that scientific proof or the mathematical proof, obviously, somewhere you've got some type of proof, and or you're just making predictions. So which is it? That's what I want to know, kind of.
Yeah. The ones who have done the best job at proofing this are two people, Guy McPherson and Ye Tao. Professor Guy McPherson has done the best job that I know of and at diagnosing the problem, the true nature and true magnitude of the problem, okay, which is abrupt climate change on track to wipe us all out in perhaps as soon as a couple of years. And then the expert at the solution is Dr. Ye Tao. He's the, now I would look to the work and presentations of Dr. Tao, including on this block party, on the very first block party number 1, if you go back to the archives on the block party page, you know, early in the block party, I think like, you know, I don't know, a couple hours in, 2 or 3 or 4 hours in, Ye Tao gives a presentation with proof, with numbers, etc. On Guy McPherson's website, there's plenty of proof and references and synthesis and everything. I would also look up the work of Dr. Keith at Harvard, also some of the work of Dr. Roger Angel at University of Arizona, colleague of Guy McPherson's, and so on. And I know Ye Tao is working, his goal is to publish something like 10 papers by the end of this year. So that'll be very helpful. And I've also made the point to Ye that we don't have until the end of this year in order to get the ball rolling on solutions. So we cannot wait. So we're in one of those situations where I cannot simply point you to a single proof that's got all the proof. There it is, Sarah. You know, go to town. You have to kind of pull from different sources. Guy does the best job of synthesizing it all together. Let me get the coffee before it boils over. And in the meantime, Emery, you want to share? Or Sarah, and let me hear from you, Sarah, because I don't know if I answered your question well or not.
I mean, yeah, no, I mean, that's good. I like that. But yeah, I am reading a lot on Guy McPherson. I looked up Ye Tao. I looked up, there's actually a conversation you had 3 months ago, Guy McPherson and Ye Tao had. That was it's posted on YouTube. But yeah, my bigger question, I guess, is if this is something that's, you know, happening, which it is, we already know proof that the climate is the hottest right now for this year, supposed to be on record. Then why are they staying silent? Or I'm not saying that they're actually purposely staying silent, but why is this something that only like 10 people know about? You know what I mean? Like, seriously, like, it's scaring me, but it makes me happy at the same time, because everything I've been thinking all this time is like, wow, I shouldn't really worry about my future because I'm not even going to be here. So that kind of thing. That's just fine with me. I'm just saying I'd rather kind of like know, hey, I can still continue to be a slacker for a few more years, or should I really get my shit together, kind of thing. You know, honestly, that's really the truth.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your being so frank about it, Sarah. First of all, one thing about humanity exiting the planet, even if we do exit the planet, hey, welcome, Nancy, and Emery, I know you're in the queue. Thanks for your patience. So even if humanity does exit the planet, there's a number of really big problems with that, actually. Number one is we won't be around to entomb and encase the nuclear material, the 440 nuclear power plants around the world from going Fukushima, right? And that would release enough ionizing radiation that it could fry the atmosphere and kill all of life on Earth, right? Period, gone, right? If we didn't have nuclear, it'd be a different story. A second concern of roughly equal magnitude, frankly, is the fact that we have dumped so many greenhouse gases into the atmosphere and destroyed so much of the planet that the runaway climate change it appears that it would have a very tall ceiling in terms of temperature rise. We're talking about, on the order of 10 degrees centigrade hotter than where we're at now. We're already over 2 degrees centigrade over the 1750 baseline, add another 10, and it's just a hot rock that's unimaginable. Now combine the two of those, and it's a hot nuclear rock. Not exactly a great place for a holiday, much less to, set up and live as any kind of organism. So there's a lot at stake for humanity to survive so that we can assume our role as caretaker species, cool the planet, heal and protect the world's ecosystems, and transform ourselves and our entire set of living arrangements, our mode of production of the economy, forms of governance, and forms of connection. See, right now, we're participating in collective intelligence, which is just a radically new and different form of connection than I've ever experienced before. And now imagine a whole network of these conversations, and that's a foundation for collective superintelligence. Well, the network exists now because everyone's on Zoom, thanks to COVID. But the network of conversations is very poorly connected, right? What's happening in the SRM space is kind of a microcosm of that. It's a microcosm of humanity. Humanity is fragmented. Isn't it predictable that the SRM community would be equally fragmented? Just because they have the coolest solution for cooling the planet doesn't mean that they're not human and that they're not susceptible to the same vices and addictions and syndromes that plague most of these primates, right, of which we're members, such as greed, hoarding, right? Look, I've been pounding the table asking Guy and Ye, join me. Let's start this united front. Let's have these public conversations on a regular basis, and let's invite the world to participate. Let's talk SRM. Their answer, no, collective intelligence, that's not important. I'm going to write all the papers. See, Ye is trying to hoard the credit by being the first to publish all the papers. He's still in hoarding mode. The planet's on fire, and Ye is hoarding papers, trying to get tenure at some prestigious institution by being the guy, right, who solved SRM. In a nutshell, that's what's going on, right? And Dr. David Keith at Harvard is being standoffish relative to Ye, who's being standoffish relative to me. And, it's just like everyone's playing standoff here. We're not going to get it together and cool the planet if we keep playing standoff, right? We should call it standoff of the primates, right? The primates' last standoff, and it's our last standoff because if we keep standing off, being standoffish relative to each other, we're going to die. So it's the last standoff of the primates. Welcome to the movie. Thank you for coming. Now what the hell are we going to do about it? And to that, I'm going to tap my brother Emery up in Montreal, Canada. Emery, how are we going to fix this?
Well, we definitely have to keep trying, but I think you're very eloquent, and you did bring up the 440 nuclear power stations. Now those are they all take 65 years or more to decommission. And are they ever decommissioned completely? No, because the waste is still there and it still exists for hundreds of thousands of years. Now, that goes to my point that I was going to make. It was that Guy has said numerous times, many times, he's talked about it, that Fukushima in itself, okay, is a extinction level event. Now I'm allowing that to sink into my brain, okay? I understand that, okay? He said it many times. Now, and you're talking about 440 other nuclear power stations that are very similar to the ones in Fukushima, the ones that have, totally obliterated, what. Now, Guy has also said that the temperature increase. It's locked in. Locked. Locked.
Yeah, but we have the key to the lock, which is
I
SRM.
know, but it's no. What I'm saying is the temperature, the bad shit that's been done has already been done. There's no going back on things that have already taken place, and those things that have taken place, okay, are responsible for an increase in the temperature. For I'm talking in the future, okay, tomorrow. I mean, there's no stopping that, but
Yes, there is.
there is no stopping capacity our capacity to try to do something and to try to mitigate further damage and to try to cool the planet. Now, cooling the planet is a very positive thing to do through SRM. Now, whether or not it's going to be sufficient to offset the locked in temperature increase, that's another story. But we have to try. We have to try. Now, even though we try, we still have the bloody nuclear bullshit. Okay? The existing extinction level event of Fukushima and those 440 power stations that need to be decommissioned. But it takes 65 years to decommission one. I mean, we're working on a time frame, okay, that is it's insane. The time frame that we have to work with, it's not helping. Okay, it really isn't.
No question about that. No question. Yeah. And what I was saying, that, you see, here's the thing. Guy talks about a certain temperature increase being locked in. The assumption there is that we don't do SRM. But if we do SRM, we can cool the planet essentially arbitrarily quickly. In other words, as quickly as we want. It's simply a matter of deploying more SRM, right? Now, I imagine there's an optimal rate at which we should cool the planet, right? Not dunk the whole planet into a gigantic ice bath, so to speak. Like if we covered, I don't know, 10% or 15% of the planet with reflective material, right? But, you know, there's got to be some optimal glide path from here, right? To take us back down to a healthy temperature. All of that I'm saying is totally within our control if we're willing to, you know, come together, work together to make it happen, right? That's the big question. How do we get it all together? So my proposal on the table is that we compose an email, like we can do it today. Like, what more urgent thing do we possibly have to do, to paraphrase Sarah, right? Not to paraphrase Sarah, but consistent with what Sarah said, you know, about the urgency. What more urgent thing do we have to do than draft this email to the different participants in the SRM space and say it's time for us to come together and form a united front, or at least explore it, at least try. Maybe we'll succeed, maybe we won't, but at least try, right? Because I contend that the SRM community coming together as a united front is absolutely crucial if we're going to sell the world on SRM. Okay, go for it, Emery.
Yeah, selling the world means going to that darn table that Sandra, the German lady, was, you know, had a ticket to speak at, you know, and she described all those people to us very clearly. Now that's going to be a trick. That's going to be a trick there to accomplish, you know, given the facts.
Well, I'm not saying anything is going to be easy. I'm saying let's do it, right? Let's roll up our sleeves and do it. And yeah, the woman Sandra, who's a member of the Club of Rome, doesn't just speak there; she's a member of that Club of Rome. So, you know, we got that interesting perspective on her and on them. I would say they're not really our audience right now. Our audience right now, well, okay, let's take this in stages. Stage one, we got to get the world's SRM community together as a united front. The rest of the world still doesn't know about us, but at least we're united and at least we're singing the same song. Stage two, take that song to the world. A simple, catchy song and message of, hello world, there is a solution to this deadly, omnicidal, exponential planetary overheating. That solution is called SRM, solar radiation management. There's a lot of different ways to do SRM, and we are exploring all of those ways with a view to coming up with the optimal mix of solutions. That's the message to give the world. And to say, and world, we need your support. We need your financial support. We need your moral support. We need you to talk about it, spread the word. We need you to participate in the collective superintelligence that we're evolving to make all this happen. Yes, Sarah.
Okay, so what about partnering up, reaching out to Extinction Rebellion? Because I remember when Extinction Rebellion first started, they ended up finally partnering up a little bit with Animal Rebellion, because Animal Rebellion was like, hey, if you're talking about the planet, you need to also be talking about the animals. So I'm not saying that we're going to be talking about that with Guy McPherson or Yay Tao or whatever, whoever, but I'm just saying, like, seriously, like, what about Extinction Rebellion coming together with, because they're in the UK, you know, they're out of the UK, coming together and partnering up with your, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, seems like time is pretty critical in this. Yay Tao is more interested in the paper stuff, but maybe get Guy McPherson to partner up, or I don't know. It seems pretty urgent to me.
Yeah, nothing could possibly be more urgent right now, other than potentially something that might facilitate us getting toward SRM more quickly, like feeding everyone. So I'm just, you know, I'm just leaving the door open in my own mind that, you know, it may be a combination of working on these different problems and opportunities may be better than just focusing on SRM. In fact, that's really where I'm at, is that we as a species can't just focus on one thing like SRM and set aside hunger and racism and all the injustices that are happening, including to animals. We can't set all that aside and say, oh, we're just going to ignore all that and just focus on SRM. It won't work for the reasons I discussed, you know, an hour ago. What I'm saying would work is that we address them all holistically, right? And, you know, that gets back to the pyramid drawing that I was sharing a bit ago, right? And frankly, I think food is kind of the key sort of big entry point. Well, actually, it's interesting. What we were talking about earlier today with Silas and folks was about getting Kimaya, right, Silas's granddaughter, together with Greta Thunberg. And both Silas and I are friends with the guy who first invited Greta Thunberg to the United Nations to speak. And that's none other than Stuart Scott, who lives in Hawaii. So Silas, bottom line, today Silas is sending an email to me and Stuart saying, hey, let's get Greta together with Kimaya. And imagine that they have a conversation that's focused not on one issue like climate change or hunger, but on two issues, climate change and hunger, right? And how, you know, which is the entire excuse me, base of the pyramid of the drawing that I showed a bit ago, right? SRM being the very foundation, because that gives us a cool planet, food on top of that, because that gives us a foundation for humanity coming together, right? And at the very top of the pyramid would be collective superintelligence. And we need collective superintelligence to do SRM, I believe, just because it's such, to do it in time, to do it in the tight time frame that we have, that's what makes it a big challenge. Look, if we had a decade to do SRM, like Kennedy had in the 1960s, in order to put, a man on the moon, right? And it was still a great challenge. They achieved it. They succeeded. In our case, we don't have a decade. We don't even have a year. We got to get busy refreezing the Arctic this summer. It's predicted that we could have an ice-free Arctic as soon as September this year, this summer. So things are looking horrifically bad, and we just have insane urgency on both those fronts, defeating everyone and cooling the planet through SRM. Now, getting back to, imagine we get Kamaya together with Greta Thunberg and we do a media event where they say, look, we're taking on both of these challenges, hunger and ending hunger and cooling the planet, feeding everyone and cooling the planet. And here's how. That's like Greta Thunberg squared, because now there's Greta and a gal who's like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years younger than Greta, Kamaya. Whoa, with the other big solution. Right now, Greta's got a solution, SRM. Before, she was just talking about the problem and basically saying we got to decarbonize, right? Which is kind of the standard mantra amongst environmentalists who don't know any better. Oh, we got to decarbonize. Good. They don't know jack about SRM. And when they do hear about SRM, it's usually in the context of someone who's trying to look PC because they saw somebody else trying to look PC, and monkey see, monkey do. Monkey PC, monkey doo-doo. And the monkey comes and says, SRM, that's a form of geoengineering, and that's bad because it's not organic. Next question, as if we have time to decarbonize and cool the planet that way. Ain't gonna happen. SRM is the only way, as Nancy will confirm. Yes, Nancy, go for it. Oh, you're on mute, Nancy. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. It's this kind of scary. Do we even have a remote possibility of accomplishing even some of that?
Oh, totally. We could totally do this. Look.
I know we can, but are there solid, plans? And I mean, is there actually action starting to be taken like now?
Well, the action that's starting to be taken like now is exactly what's happening right here in this room.
Yeah, but we're not putting mirrors up in the Arctic.
No, but we are. we're doing so.
In fact, you can't really fly. Right? Can you fly? Right? I guess you could fly up there right now.
Well, let me ask you a question, Nancy. Have you seen the movie V for Vendetta?
No.
Okay. You can imagine just a super long string of dominoes, and then you can also imagine dominoes that kind of branch off into different branches. You can imagine dominoes getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Each one knocks over one that's like 1.3 times the size of the preceding. And so you get this exponential effect. You can imagine all that. Okay.
Okay.
So what you're talking about is the final domino to fall, kaplunk, which is putting mirrors up in the Arctic and in different parts of the world, doing SRM. Okay. That's not the first domino to kick over. That's the last domino to get kicked over by something else. So what I'm proposing is that we start right now, right here where we are, versus starting somewhere where we're not. Where are we right now? We're in this meeting and we're trying to figure out what is the first domino that we need to kick over in order to knock over another domino, in order to knock over another and another, until finally we get to the big one that goes crash. And that's SRM fully implemented. That's my perspective. If somebody has a more empowering perspective, please, out with it.
Yeah, all right. I just went on Prime and I put V for Vendetta on my watch list. I can rent it for a few bucks.
I think it's on Netflix for free.
Oh, it is.
I think
Oh,
it is, but they put stuff on and take stuff off. Hopefully, it's
yeah, yeah. Well, I always get it for free if I can. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, the thing is, we really need to get, like you were mentioning, Greta. And that's what's really needed, to go to the major media outlets, because that's where people's attention still is, regardless of, yeah, I mean, um, how much they. I don't see the major media as lying as much as omitting and avoiding, these issues, which I suppose is a form of lie, but they probably also have to account to their shareholders, who are probably deeply embedded with, animal agriculture being such a major economic force in the world today. You know.
Well, look, we could spend months analyzing the media, or we could accept the fact that we have the talent that we need to actually get in front of the media, into the media, and make this happen, right? And that's where I'm at, right? Yes, there's a lot of things wrong with the media, but we know how to get in, and we know how to do this. So what I'm proposing is that once we get, so let's think of it as kind of a two-phased approach, right? On the one hand, we're working on getting Greta and Kamaya together to have this kind of combined conversation about SRM and feeding everyone plant-based foods, right? Okay. Those are the two big solutions that we need. We need SRM because without it, we're all going to be dead in a couple of years. And we need to feed everyone, because if we don't do that, humanity is going to be a cluster mess. And it's very hard to imagine doing SRM when humanity is a cluster mess with a third of us dying of starvation, right? It's just not going to happen. There's just going to be too much chaos, too much violence, too much war, too much conflict, too much destruction. And we really need unity right now to do SRM at scale, in time. Again, that's the big factor, is time. So again, back to the two-prong approach. Greta and Kamaya, that basically says, look, we've got to do both these things. We've got to solve food and we've got to do SRM. And with the two of them saying that message to the world, that's news. That's news. Throw in not one, but two different teams from Harvard, right? Singing the same song and standing behind Greta and Kamaya, right? At the press conference. Some freaking Harvard professors, researchers, yeah, we're going to do this. Yes, yes, yes to SRM. And then behind Kamaya and the food solution, you got food healers. You got Silas, you got Dr. Priya Naik, you got, the whole team of vegan doctors who Dr. Priya has assembled, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to have all the big guns support. But what makes it a story is that Greta's back, and this time she's got posse. And Greta and posse are now saying the following. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, 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 wah. Okay? Yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so they get out there and they say, okay, hello world. Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. The ugly is, aside from Jamin, the ugly is we've got exponential planetary overheating, and the only way to stop it in time is to put a buttload of mirrors out there, right? Right, Dr. Keith? Right, and the way to do that, shut up, we'll get back to that later. So we got to cool the planet with mirrors, with reflection. That's the only way to do it. And the only way for the planet to get its shit together to do that is that if we all eat. We can't do this on an empty stomach. You can't do SRM on an empty stomach. So you got Kamaya leading on feeding everyone, and Greta leading on making sure everyone does SRM in time and at scale. And the two of them are working together. It's a dynamic duo. They become the new face of humanity. working together to survive. Oh, Nancy, you're on mute.
Has that effort begun? Has that has Silas reached out to?
Yeah, so Silas committed to today, exactly today, sending an email to Stuart Scott and copying me. I'm just checking to see if he sent it yet. Not yet. But when Silas says he's going to do something, he does it. So Silas is going to send an email to me and Stuart Scott today, saying, hey, let's get Greta together with Kamaya, and here's Food Healers, and here's the big idea. And we need both Food Healers and SRM and whatever. I don't know, whatever he's going to say. And then I'll reply all. And we're just going to work on Stuart Scott until we get those two gals together, right? In parallel, we're working on an email / letter, because in some cases I might FedEx it or just, mail it. However, like the David Keith, to get his attention, I might FedEx him the letter. But in any case, regardless of how we send it, the strategy is build a united front around SRM to cool the planet, right? Ideally,
millions of dollars is that?
Pardon me? No.
How many millions of dollars is that?
No, it's measured more in the hundreds of billions or even trillions. It's
Right.
really big money.
Sure.
And in terms of resource. And to answer a question that Ace raised in the chat, Ace says that economic collapse will hinder efforts. And there's no question that that's the case. And what I would suggest, Ace, is consider that if we do this intense focus on food, and you could even literally imagine a planetary food network where there is no money, no transaction. We all agree to work together and volunteer. And if you're a farmer, please contribute your land. If you're Uncle Sam, please, or the banks, please give that farmer a break, since he's, or she or is donating their land and use of their land for growing food to feed people. And whatever other, incentives or arrangements we need to do in order to just feed everyone. Once we've fed once everyone's fed, right, then economic collapse takes on a much less frightening meaning, right? Because whether or not you have an economy or money or anything, people are eating. If people are eating, people are okay. I'm being oversimplified here, all right, oversimplistic. And then you could just imagine using now a whole bunch of surplus industrial capacity that got turned off because of the recession depression, right? Take some of that surplus capacity and crank out whatever you need for SRM. Anyway, again, oversimplified. Emery's going to shed some more light. Go for it, Emery.
I just had an idea, a thought, I mean, we're all familiar with the giant fast food chains, right? The McDonald's, the Burger Kings, the blah, blah, blahs, the Kentuckys, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're familiar with them. Well, how about them having a division that's plant-based food? They already have the facilities, right? Now it's just a matter of having some trillionaire or billionaire come along and say, here guys, or getting them on board with the concept of saving life on the planet, right? It's getting them to change and then transforming their already established network of food delivery to one that is plant-based. Well, you know, I mean, it could be that simple, right? It could be. I mean, of course, what would be in it for them, right? I mean, they're so profit oriented, right? But it would take someone to convince them, right? Or provide some kind of a meaningful reason to do it, right? I mean, surely there's someone on the planet or a group of people on the planet, maybe a collective intelligence group of people that could get to their ear, right? And push them towards a nice project. That would be a great project.
Well, I have a solution for achieving exactly what you're talking about, Emery, and in a way that it'll happen essentially automatically. And here's the solution. Imagine that we get Greta and Kamaya together. We do this press conference with all the experts I talked about, and the word is out that the goal is to cool the planet with SRM in time and feed everyone plant-based foods, right? And that just becomes a really big story, okay? And people are talking about it and talking about it and talking about it, and then, you know, somebody might argue that, you know, SRM is not necessary. In fact, it could be harmful, right? And then the analysis could be done and that person could be proven wrong. Okay. Next question, next question, next question. If the world gets engaged in the conversation, this whole thing will shake out very quickly. The key is getting the world into it, right? Once the world's into it, then lots of people, millions of people, tens of millions, hundreds of people, hundreds of millions of people around the world will be asking the same question that you just asked, Emery. Where are the billionaires and how do we get to them? And if you have 100 million people talking about and exploring that question, I posit that you're going to get a lot better answers than if you just have, what are we, 7 of us right now? If we're just 7 of us and we kind of, you know, kick that around and kick that around, yeah, we might get some good ideas, we might not, but we'll certainly spend time. And that's really our most critical resource right now. What I instead recommend that my proposal is, instead of speculating as to how we might get some billionaires interested, let's focus instead on making this a story for the world. And then, you know, let's expand our numbers from 7 of us to 100 million of us asking these questions and exploring this and coming up with answers, coming up with proposals. What do you think, Emery?
I'm open to anything you got in mind, you know.
Well, I'm just saying what makes sense to me. So if, you know, if there are other ideas that are different or even contradictory or whatever, no problem. Just let's talk about it. Let's figure out how we want to do this.
Well, there are no other ideas really that can be contradictory to it, because it is the simple fact of the matter. We know what the urgencies are, and we know that basically the majority of the planet is not aware of it. So the urgency is to make the planet, the people, aware of what the problem is. So the message going out there is, without SRM, we're not going to be able to feed ourselves. If we don't feed ourselves, we're not going to have SRM. That's the message. That we need to hashtag that to get that out around the world, like to get people talking about it. What the fuck's SRM? You know, you get people motivated, but it needs to be put out there and put out there soon. And just like the world is starting to slowly come to terms with the fact that their realization of that we're on our own, people are becoming aware of that. You see that, you know, you see it in America now with the George Floyd protests and everything because of that injustice and everything else. You see it all over the world with all governments. People are realizing it, that they're on their own, that they're like when they most depend on their governments, they're not there for them. It's as simple as that. And they always realize that in the times of crisis, they have to depend on each other. And this is one of those, if ever there was a time of crisis, and we need to depend on each other now. So the message is that without SRM, we can't feed ourselves. Without feeding ourselves, we can't do SRM. Simple and plain. And we know where we've been abandoned, and we need to come together. We need to come together as the George Floyd protests have been coming together peacefully to show the government that we can come together and unite peacefully as one people. We don't need violence in our lives to achieve what we want in our lives. And we do the same with the SRM and the feeding people. It's the same thing, but without people actually being aware of the problem, which is the ultimate starting domino. That domino has to be pushed over first. We have to get people talking about it. We're on our own, people, and we have no other choice but to show the governments and the world leaders and the rich people. We show them by example. Peaceful protest is example. And what else? How many people in America alone? Because I know how many people, and we've only about 4.5 million people in the Republic of Ireland anyway. But I know roughly how many people every week spend a euro or two on the lottery, a weekly lottery, to try and win a few bob. But nearly everyone spends a euro or two. Well, not everyone, but you know what I mean. There's millions made in Ireland alone every week. I can imagine how many millions a week are spent on the lottery in America. If people thought that they were putting $1 a week, just $1 a week to saving their children and the planet and feeding people, they'd have no problem with it whatsoever. You're talking hundreds of millions every week donations there, then simply from the people as an example to those who really have it, to cough up. But once people are talking, the wealthy have children too in lives, and if they see there's a way out, I think they're going to go for it too, like simple and plain. But no one's going to go for anything if we don't start talking about it.
Exactly, which is what we're doing right here, right now. And this gets back to Nancy's question. What should we be doing? My vote is to continue doing what we're doing right here, right now, and sharpen it, hone it in. I love what you said, James, about without SRM, we can't feed ourselves. And if we don't feed ourselves, we won't be able to do SRM, because you can't do SRM on an empty stomach. The planet cannot do SRM on an empty stomach. And now imagine, okay, that you've got Greta and Kamaya. And imagine a series of videos, some that are a minute long, some that are 10 seconds long, some that are 25 seconds long, right? Some that are 5 seconds long, right? Imagine Kamaya saying, you know, we won't be able to feed everyone unless we do SRM. And then Greta saying, and we won't be able to do SRM unless we feed everyone. And then they look at each other, and then they look back at you. Yes, you, Nancy. Now they're looking at you, right? And, you know, in addition to the press conference, in addition to a new round of speeches at the UN and everywhere, right? Let's go on tour. If we need to get a sailboat, we get a sailboat, right? Whatever it takes. But we need to get these two ladies center stage. And I think if we can do that, we'll definitely have the clout to pull in the SRM experts. See, now that's the second domino. So now imagine, you know, Greta and Kamaya, that's domino number one. Domino number two, we get the SRM community together. Domino number three, we do the press conference, which includes both the SRM community and Greta and Kamaya. There's our first three dominoes. And once we do that press conference that has Greta and Kamaya right up front, and all the Harvard professors and SRM researchers, Yatows, et cetera, behind them, and all the food healers folks, Dr. Nike and her whole medical team behind, that's it. That's news. That's the story. That's the message. That's the medium. That's domino number three. So again, to review, domino number one, Greta and Kamaya give their message to the world and start doing their thing as a dynamic duo. And that's an ongoing thing. Domino number two, with Greta and Kamaya with them being the ones who do the outbound communication to the SRM community members, they'll all show up. Why? Because they got invited by Greta and Kamaya. Domino number 3. Where do they show up? At the press conference. Well, obviously there's some meetings before the press conference defining, getting everything all clarified, right? For what we're going to do at the press conference. But that's easy once you've got everyone on board. And then you do the press conference. Hello, world. There's 2 urgent solutions that work together, and doing both of them will save our lives. And we need to get busy, and here they are, right? Greta will say, all right, for the last few years, you've all heard me talk about the problem and, demanding solutions. Now we've, all my demands have been met. We now have solutions, and here they are. Boom. What do you guys think? Are we digging it? Is Jamin off his rocker again? Am I missing something? Or maybe all the above. Maybe you are digging it and I'm off my rocker. Maybe I had to get off my rocker in order to jam properly. I don't know. Nancy, what do you think?
Well, I don't think you're off your rocker, but I just have this question, of the practicality. I mean, we have to get this thing started and get, major media on board, there's plenty of billionaires in the world. I mean, the money is there to do it, but they have to be convinced. And you seem like you have great connections and certainly, enormous amount of experience. And no, I don't think you're off your rocker. You're obviously really smart. And, so I kind of leaves me like, I'm always like, well, what can I do? Like now, today. And that's kind of what's even motivating me to pursue promoting plant-based vegan food so pervasively in my life, even before anything else, because I know people have to stop eating them. And basically what I've done is an assessment of the problem and okay, here's the problem. Here are the barriers to change, because we want people to change. So the first thing you have to do is, what are the barriers? You have, this is our goal and we know what we want to accomplish. There's the vision and the mission, but to get there, we have to go through a lot of people and a lot of systems. And it seems, impenetrable sometimes, but we have to start someplace. And I have to say, okay, here's the goal, here's the problems. How do we address those problems? And not tell people what they should be doing, but let people, get people well informed and present the solution right up front. So the solution to not eating animals is really good vegan food. Because I've said this before, that as important it is, I'm wholeheartedly behind not just animal liberation, but liberation for everyone. And I'm also wholeheartedly behind the normalized violence that we've been born into this world, and how, eating the bodies and excretions of sentient beings, how much that, locks us into that violence, and we can't be objective about it until we get that stuff off of our plate and out of our body, and it changes our relationship with them. And that's hard to do because we're so totally separated from the natural world, much more than we realize, If we weren't, we wouldn't be putting these animals in zoos and aquariums. We wouldn't be putting them in prisons and then calling it entertainment, and the whole underbelly, the whole awful thing that happens there too. But that's an aside issue. So I was like, okay, we have to help people, move from point A to point Z really quickly. And we have to identify all the barriers and address those barriers so people can change and bring them along, and then embrace the other ethical issues and things. So, some people come and it's like, okay, it's ethics and that's the foundation, that's what I'm gonna do. But the vast majority of people, it's more like, what's in it for me? How is it gonna make my life better? How am I gonna be able to do this and enjoy it and still live like a little spoiled brat that I've been living my whole life? Because that's, how I was conditioned and raised. So it's the same thing, like how can we get, what are the barriers to change? What are the things that actually need to happen? And in addition to this, I totally get why you're doing this. There has to be a consciousness shift, but people have to see see the light at the end of. They have to see there's a light at the end of the tunnel. telling people, in my case, or just telling stop eating animals, that doesn't really give them the information that they need to move forward. It's like, no, here is, look at this, look at these amazing foods, and they're healthy, and for the environment, and for all these things, it's going to benefit you in every way. It's delicious, it's fulfilling. Look at all this, people have to see that before they're going to be willing to let go of even the horrors. It's still too counterculture right now. So I'm kind of seeing this in the same light. I'm just speaking from my own experience of what I'm doing now, and I have to apologize. I will come back on the call later on today, but I just wanted to check in and give my 2 cents and take my 2 cents and come back later on. I know you're going to be around for a long time tonight.
Oh,
I have a booth tomorrow at a community market that I have to prepare for.
sure. Yeah,
yeah,
we'll come back anytime. We'll be here,
okay.
Nancy.
Oh, and everybody, go to plantpoweredmeatmonth.com. That's my latest promotion. And I'm still really hoping beyond hope to get it off the ground and get restaurants and professional chefs signed up. But I need people to go to the site, create interest, and also there's a perk pass. There's a foodie power with perks pass. It's only $1, and if I can get enough people to contribute $1, it'll help fund the program, because right now I've been taking the money out of my own pocket, And then I have something that everybody can participate in on every Friday night in July. So I guess you'd have to choose this meeting or that, but from 6 to 7 East Coast time, I'm having Friday night parties, Zoom parties. And everybody can come and show their vegan food or plant-based food. And if they're eating an animal burger, they have to lie about it and tell us it's a Beyond Meat burger. We don't want to see the animal stuff they're eating. And just a little educational, kind of fun, and just something to follow through and create interest and generate interest in it, and get people involved and that kind of thing. So the perks, well, it would be only for my event, but the program can be done anywhere. Anybody that wants to, get a few pages on the website for their area, I'm more than happy to set that up for them too. So there we have it. And that's actually not why I came on. Was just interested in learning what you're doing. But before I make my grand exit and re-entry later, I thought I'd throw a shameless plug for the Plant Powered Meat Month. And the barriers to change, people still think of like vegan meat as fake food. They think it's full of chemicals, the same thing with cheese, and it's not. We really have to, especially vegans, we have to stop calling plant-based meat fake meat. Like, don't do that. It's real food. It's just, I tell people it's, the animals they eat are plant eaters. So those plants get digested and transformed into muscle, which is meat. So technology has developed a way to take plants through heat and pressure, I guess, and mixing things together, right? And make plant-based meat. And it's like, that's all it is. It's just meat that didn't go through the animal. And people like hearing that. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But it's really important that we promote these things, because it's the only way we're going to get animal agriculture. Ultimately, the only way is by replacing what people are used to. They're not going to change in time, So again, the barriers to change is really important, to identify those barriers and to figure out a way around them without coming out and just shaming people or telling them they're wrong, because nobody wants to listen to that, You wouldn't get people coming here if you kept telling us how horrible we were. It's just human ego. We all have it. Let's face it. We all have human ego. It's just the human condition. So you don't want to be inflaming people's egos and at the same time trying to get them to change. Generally doesn't work. So anyway, any thoughts to what I said?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to point out, and correct me if I'm wrong, please.
Yeah.
But
I
don't see a single element in what I'm proposing or what we're proposing here in terms of saving life on Earth. I don't see a single element that involves shaming anyone or telling them that they're wrong. Not a single element.
Obviously, right. Yeah.
And I simply cannot imagine a more powerful voice for this than the combination of Greta and Kamaya. right?
Right.
And communicating that there's two solutions that we need. And Nancy, I want to address something very important, since you've raised these, the meat,
Mhm.
plant-based meat month, et cetera, is, look, a lot of us talk about, yeah, we all need to get together and do this. We all need to get together and do this. And what I'm spending the lion's share of my working hours doing is precisely this: figuring out, having the conversation, how do we get together and do this, right? And, a lot of people come on and say, yeah, let's get together and do something together. But then what do they end up doing? Actions speak louder than words. Hey, I'm working on this project over here. Come over here to my website that I'm doing over here. And that's the same syndrome as what we're seeing with Dr. Ye Tao. He's not accepting my invitations to get
Oh.
together and talk about this and do collective intelligence and do something together. He's saying, here, I'm working on these 10 papers over here. I'm going to publish them and get all kinds of credit for it, and then I'll get tenure somewhere. He's not saying the last few words in that sentence, but it's obvious what he's
Well,
trying to accomplish, right?
You have to
But-
find out what that means to him and see if there's an inroad and how this will help him with that. If
Yeah,
there is.
exactly. And I think we found that inroad. That's what I'm suggesting. I think collectively we've come up with the key solution. I didn't come up with it. Silas came up with it, which is to bring Greta and Kamaya together, state the message that we need to feed everyone and do SRM.
Right.
And when they get that message out there, it'll get freaking everyone's attention, including this massively fragmented SRM community. And then I'll come with, Greta on one arm and Kamaya on the other, and I'll go up to Harvard and I'll say, yay, hey, yay, yeah, hey, remember me? Yeah. Well, guess what? I'm back. And you know what? I've got some friends. Meet Greta, meet Kamaya. And they're saying, hey, yay, we need you in the SRM United Front. SRM, a united front to cool the planet. We need you.
Yeah.
Ye can blow me off all he wants, but he will not be able to blow off Greta and Kamaya, putting out a call to all the SRM folks. We need you here now. We need to come together. We cannot do this as a fragmented thing anymore. So Ye, don't tell me about your, little itty bitty, plant-based hotdog month.org, right? We need you here on the big mission, right? I'm just using you that as an example, because it's everywhere. You see it everywhere, right? And you have to, like you said, you have to identify the thing that will get people to change. We need to look ourselves in the mirror and understand that fragmentation is getting us not just nowhere, it's getting us to omnicide. It's literally killing us. This is the thing that's killing us.
Right.
And what's going to get us together is not each of us going off to our own little fragmented, itty bitty websites and trying to get a few dozen people to show up, but all of us coming together and saying, okay, we got to work this out together. And the ones to bring us together, it's not me, it's not Silas, it's Greta and Kamaya. And that's what I think we've figured out. And that's where we need to sharpen our pencil and get that done. And that's what we're doing here.
Fabulous.
And we're out of time. And so, if somebody has a better idea, if plant-based meat month is truly the way to go, and it's not this SRM thing, and it's not this feed everyone thing, and
No, I would never say that.
No, I know that. I'm just using it again as an example.
Right.
I'm just saying, hypothetically, if that were the case, then make that case. But what I don't want is fragmentation.
Right.
I don't want this to be a platform for fragmentation.
Right.
Right?
That's very important. Yeah. So they see that in the vegan movement, a lot of fragmentation.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's in academia. It's in industry.
Yeah.
It's in government. It's why we're in this freaking mess. It's why George Floyd is dead. Because a fragmented white dude, who grew up in some toxic meat-eating culture,
Yeah.
that said that people who look like that are bad and we got to kill them. And he's like, okay, well, great. How do I do that? Well, you can either join the KKK or end up in jail.
He had something like 18 complaints about him prior to that.
It's pervasive.
He's been a well-documented jerk for a long time.
It means that the whole police force is racist.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway, it's fragmentation everywhere. I have taken a stand at the collective intelligence block party. No more freaking fragmentation. Let's get together and talk about this and work it out together. So we've got a leading strategy.
All right.
Let's work on it.
That sounds great.
A singular strategy. Greta and Kamaya, boom, a singular message, food and SRM. We need food in order to do SRM. We need SRM in order to grow food. Singular.
Yeah.
All right, I got to take a 5-minute break. I got to feed the crows and do something electronic. So is everybody cool with that, or does anyone need more time? I don't want to really break the flow so much, but if somebody, but if you know, if folks would rather,
I should get back to work and I'll come back and join y'all later. So
Got
it's
it.
nice to see everybody.
Got it. Come back anytime and every time, Nancy.
Okay, thank you so much, Jamie. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, sister. Love you and look forward to seeing you soon.
Bye.
All right, see ya. Okay, everybody else, how many minutes do we want break-wise?
Yeah, 5 minutes is enough. I'm just getting grabbing a cup of tea.
Okay, great. I'll put that back at 1:50 at 50 minutes after the hour. Okay, see you guys in a few, and I'll pause recording. Okay, after a brief pause, we were just recapping a little bit, and but imagine the following scenario. Just imagine, okay? Greta and Kamaya reach out directly to the leading SRM experts around the world, including Yatao, including Guy McPherson, including Professor David Keith at Harvard, including the Stanford group centered around ICE 9/11, including me, including Emory. Emory and I are going to say yes, but what I'm saying is if those two girls make the invitation, then guess what? Everyone will say yes. And we'll get the SRM folks together. In fact, they'll be the ones to convene the SRM folks. And they'll be the ones to kick it off. And when they kick it off and they say, listen, we got to quit screwing around. We need to create a united front. Raise your hand if you're in. They're all going to raise their hand. If somebody's going to be out, they're going to become very unpopular. All right, Emery's got his hand up, followed by Sarah. Actually, Emery, do you mind if we let Sarah, because I think she's trying to respond to something I just said, if you don't mind. And then, cool?
Well, I was just going to say that Greta and Kamaya, you talked about that earlier but they are part of Animal Hero Kids. So maybe they could also be part of it, Vegan Evan, because he's got a huge following and everything. I mean, obviously, so does Greta. But yeah, I mean, when is this going to happen? Because it seems like it should happen pretty soon. As did Dr. Rao say at the end of before Divine Feminine, he was going to, because I saw Kamaya on there.
Yeah, you're breaking up a bit towards the end there, but I think I got the gist of your question is when's it going to happen? And the answer is today. Silas committed that today he would email Stuart Scott and me, and then I would reply all. And we're going to get the message to Stuart Scott, who's the one who invited Greta to the United Nations to speak for the first time. So he has a very solid, productive relationship with Greta. So we're going to ask Stuart Scott to broker that one, and it's time to put it on the table, everyone. And when they lead, everyone's going to follow, including all the SRM experts. They'll convene them, right? They won't listen to each other, but they will listen to those two ladies. That's the key. And that's a microcosm of no one on planet Earth is listening to anyone else, but everyone's going to listen to those two ladies. Guaranteed. Boom. That's it. Not everyone's going to agree, but everyone's going to listen. That's the key. And getting everyone's attention and everyone into a conversation. Again, regardless of what your position is on the conversation, you could be agreeing, you could be disagreeing. We don't care. We just want you in the conversation. Oh, I don't have to agree with SRM in order to be in the conversation? No, you don't. Oh, I can be opposed to SRM and be in the conversation? Yes, absolutely. We just want you in the conversation, right? We want the world in the conversation of food and SRM as the two co-urgent solutions. All right, Emery's got his hand up. I'm going to be off camera for a moment, but I'm listening to everything. So carry on. Go for it, Emery.
Okay, Kamaya, what kind of following does she have? Number one question. And what the things that she's going to speak about will she have a script to read from, or is she going to you know, say things from her own mind? How is her interaction going to work exactly? I mean, I see you have some kind of a vision in mind, but I personally, I've seen one video from her. I don't know, does she have a following? Sarah, you seem to know, you're in the know. And I've checked, I couldn't find very much besides what you already stated. So I'm just wondering how this is going to work and how well scripted, or, I mean, has she got her own vocabulary? You know, I don't know, it's a lot of pressure for
Yeah. So let me answer the questions if I may. Or are you done formulating, Emery, or can I answer?
I'm just saying that it's a lot of pressure for children.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's a lot of pressure for all of us because all of our heads are on the chopping block, and we all have to play our part, including the children. As to her following, I think she has, some following. I think it's frankly, I don't know, maybe it measures in the thousands or tens of thousands, but in any case, it's way smaller than Greta's. And because of that, it actually doesn't matter because Greta will draw the cameras, and then Greta will, essentially introduce Kamaya, who's, 6 or 7 years younger than Greta. Greta will introduce Kamaya to the world. And now instead of having just a white girl there, you have a white and multi-race brown, including part Black, part Indigenous, right? Part Indian, part, I don't know what all the parts are, but a lot of parts, and just brilliant, beautiful, et cetera, et cetera. And she would, and to answer your second question, she would speak with her own mind, her own heart, right? She's her own person. Of course, she would have the benefit of a lot of support from all of us, but in the end, she's her own person, right? She'll make up her own mind about anything and everything, right? That's how I see it. Sarah, any thoughts to add to that?
Yeah, actually, that's good. What you just said. Can you hear what I'm saying now? Can you hear what I'm saying, Jamin?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was on mute. As I mentioned earlier, I'm listening to everything from moment to moment.
Oh, okay. Because it was kind of like I was going in and out earlier, but yeah, no, I think what you're saying is great because Greta has millions of followers, obviously, all over the world. Everybody knows who she is. She was on, major, networks all over the world. So everybody knows who Greta is. And of course, Kamaya, a lot of people know who she is, but the main draw is that everybody knows who Greta is because she's just this girl who just spoke up in her country. She's not even from the US, but she spoke up and she speaks, a couple different languages, so which also helps. And she's with Kamaya, who's a person of color child. That's going to really help. Of course, everybody's going to know who they are. It's not even an issue. It's just they have to get the message out there. So yeah, I agree with you on that. Putting Kamaya plus Greta equals, 100%.
amazing. It's going to be great. It's just hopefully Dr. Rao gets an answer from that. And it's positively yes, because this definitely needs to happen for sure. What about you, Emery?
I guess Greta will make the final decision. I guess ultimately it'll be their call, and whoever handler Greta has, they'll be making the decisions.
Well, the cool thing is that Stuart Scott effectively has been one of Greta's handlers, right? Arguably her main handler for her first major visit to the United Nations, which he invited her to, right? He may have even sprung for the travel expenses. I don't know. But he's the guy who made that happen. So we've, between Silas, Stuart Scott, myself, Guy McPherson, who on Wednesday answered Melissa's question, saying, yes, I think it would make sense to put together a conference of folks to, promote SRM. So Guy's essentially in, at least that's what he says, and I believe him. So I think we got a lot of really good stuff pushing all in the same direction here. And, we'll at least have a conversation with Stuart Scott. And when we do, I'd like to bring in Guy McPherson and Ye Tao and really stack the deck and say, look, here's the guy who can bring in Greta. Are you interested? They'll say yes. Okay, great. We all talk with Stuart Scott, and we hit him from all these directions, right? Hit him, sorry. These violent metaphors. We bless him with all this great input from all these different directions, the magnitude of the problem, the solution, et cetera, et cetera. And, if that doesn't convince him, I don't know what the hell will. And then let him talk with Greta, and then we can all talk together and put together a holistic plan and make it happen, right? Anyway, Sarah, you got your hand up, go for it.
My question was I put the question in the chat, how well does Dr. Rao know Guy McPherson? Like, honestly, like, I feel like we all need to, like, these people need to come together, like, ASAP.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm here every Friday, Saturday, every Tuesday. I'm on Video Conferences 40 hours a week. It's basically a full-time job, just that. And, just pounding the drum, come together. We can work this out together, come together. And, meanwhile, Guy and Ye, frankly, are too busy being too cool for school. They're too cool for Jamin's, little freaking after-school treehouse, or however they perceive it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but how can they be too cool to cool?
Yeah, being too cool to cool. Being too cool to cool the planet. Are you too cool to cool?
Yeah, this is the problem with egos, because it happens in everything, and this is why things don't get done, because of freaking egos.
Yeah, that's it. I'm writing that down. Too cool to cool. Too cool to cool. That's it. It's ego. It's ego and greed. It's hoarding, right? Hoarding of money, hoarding of academic prestige, hoarding of credit, right? And that's where I'm saying, you know what? I don't think I'm going to get through to these folks, because they see me as another male, another, competitor, basically. And they think that if they come to these meetings, it'll help me, and that therefore that's somehow bad for them. I mean, it's that freaking absurd, right?
Well, like you said, it's all about getting these people together. So what better way to get them together than arrange a Zoom conference with, we say, Stuart, Guy McPherson, Silas, Greta, and Kamaya. Like we were saying today, like a kind of grandchildren to the grandparents talking to the elders kind of a conversation. Greta and Kamaya could already have time to, beforehand, like to compile a list of questions anyway that they would like to ask themselves, and questions that are coming from themselves. Obviously, Greta would be more in the know with the climate situation, and Kamaya's coming from the food situation either way. Have a food expert there as well, then, but have them all in, like, you know, the kind of, as I said, the younger generation, the youngest generations going to the elders for the information. Like even Dr. Peter Wadham is there now as well. He's another grandfather figure as well, but he's the expert ice, the Arctic ice expert. Like, you know, there's people there, and Jim Bendel is another person who's talking about deep adaptation, and not just about the weather and the climate catastrophe, but the urgency to prepare for that. Like, and you know, that we have to change our way of living and everything. So all the necessary experts in a Zoom conference, and Kamaya and Greta will have their pre-prepared questions anyway. Like, and basically they're only sitting down having the conversation. There wouldn't be any egos come into it when they're talking to children anyway, as far as I'm concerned. They'll speak honestly to the honest questions. That's the way I see it, as most humans do to children anyway, other than those that shut them up and put them in the corner and tell them not to talk. Like, but I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Most people will respond in kind to a child, as simple as that, and as best they can. And if you get the message across to a child, then it's a simple message that you're getting across to all of humanity. Anyone older is going to take it in. Like, so that's the way to do it. Like, get these people into one room with the two children and ask them the right questions. Basically lay it all out on the table, the whole situation, the whole shebang, our food crisis, our climate crisis, our SRM solutions.
Our SRM solutions and our food solutions. And the big vector for getting it all done, the mass media, supported by social media. Donald Trump will be tweeting about it, for crying out loud.
Well, a recorded meeting like that now with Greta, Kamaya, and those aforementioned, the necessary people, and then recorded Zoom conference then with them, we would go fucking, you know, it would go apeshit on the internet straight away. It'd be spread everywhere. It'd go into the news channels. It'll go everywhere, and
It would
then
go
everybody
everywhere.
asking all right, what's the SRM, or even have Yeto there to explain to Greta what the SRM. Literally show his little presentation there, his 10-minute presentation, because pictures speak 1,000 words, not just for children, for everybody. And you're speaking to children anyway, even the adults up to there, because 1% of the planet really only know what's really going on, and not even all of them know about SRM. So, like, you're basically teaching the whole planet is like teaching children anyway in the first place. So you're going to have to put the pictures in front of them. You're going to have to put ask the questions like children would, and give the answers that you would get to children, but the honest, open answers and insightful answers that cut straight to the quick. This is the situation, and this is where we are. Blah 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 blah. Greta's capable of dealing with it, and Kamaya is already well in the picture. They're old souls in young bodies. That's the way it is.
Brilliant, James. Love everything you're saying. I wouldn't change a word. Brilliant. That's it. That is it. I mean, it's worth repeating a dozen times. I'll just repeat it once. Almost nobody knows about, maybe 1% of the planet knows the gravity of the situation, and maybe 1% of them, in other words, 1/100th%, no, yeah, 100th% of humanity knows about SRM as the solution, right? And just as my dad commented about the California lottery, buying lottery tickets does not materially improve your chances of winning the lottery. In the same spirit, nobody knows about SRM. Let's call a spade a spade. Nobody knows about SRM, okay? And because nobody knows about it, We're asking the world to look at SRM with fresh eyes of a child, not old cynical eyes that says, well, that's politically impossible. Well, because no one's going to make money off of it, then no one's going to do it. No. Look at it with fresh eyes, the eyes of a child. It'll start with children. Children will talk to their parents. Greta and Kamaya will teach kids how to talk to their parents, and the parents will definitely listen to their children. They may yell at the television set, but they'll listen to their children. This is the strategy right here. That's it. There, I repeated it once. I hope I did it justice, James. Go for it, Emery.
Well, I'm just gonna express my my gut feeling and the way I kind of feel about it. You know, I'm more or less not in complete agreement because, for one thing, I don't like using children. You know, it's like a form of manipulation, you know, of children. I mean, it's one thing when children, you know, just blossom on their own, right? Obviously,
okay, Emery, I have to interject right now for a very good reason. I almost never interrupt, but I have to make an exception here because enemies are going to form, and they're going to take this video and they're going to take your blurb there about manipulating children. And that's where I need to pause and edit. No one is manipulating anyone here, okay? Greta stepped up on her own and took the lead on her own, and so did Kamaya. It was Kamaya who manipulated her grandfather into doing a pinky promise that he would get on this and have a vegan world. So I just want to make sure, and please don't say that, because I need you to consider, Emery, somebody's going to take that segment and use it in the wrong way, and no, I don't have time to edit it out. So let's just not say it in the first place. Or if you want to say something like that that could be misconstrued, please ask me to pause first, and I'll pause, and then you can say whatever you want. Back to you.
I'll retract my statement. I'll retract my my concerns then.
Well, please don't retract your concern if it's still a concern. I'm just saying, please be more careful with your words. That's all.
Well, all I would say to you there, Emery, anyway, is that just to allay any concerns that you might have had there, like or misunderstandings, that as Jamin explained there, like Greta started all this herself, all her campaign herself by literally taking it on her under her own steam to go and picket on a Friday, and that's just one single movement and act started that, and she committed herself and stuck with it right from the get-go. And Kamaya was the inspiration for K-Mama because of her actions, her own actions alone, and because of her inquisitiveness and her you know, her concerns for her fellow humans and for the animals and everything else, because of people eating the animals and everything. So, you know, there's an old saying, in the company of angels and children we shall find the faithfuls. And it's an old saying, and it's a true one, because and I think you might be familiar with the saying, out of the mouths of babes. And it's the children who have still the purity and the innocence in them to see what is real and what makes sense and what doesn't in this crazy world. Like, we've been polluted too long to even realize what's right from wrong anymore. But the children see right through it. So if anyone has been manipulated, it's the adults on the planet, and it's the children who are waking up and starting to make us snap out of our hypnosis. So I would say definitely anyway, you wouldn't have to be concerned about that one in the slightest. Believe me.
I just want to add that you know, Greta did not consider the aerosol masking effect, and that you know, that whole issue that Guy had presented, you know, and that had an impact overall in that movement of Extinction Rebellion, and they did not focus on that. You know, and that was concerning for me, you know, that they didn't see that, they didn't include that, you know, and I think Guy had talked about that issue at a certain point, and there were videos made about it. So, you know, I'm just saying that make sure, you know, the directions are clear, you know, as these two, you know, capable young children present the spearhead for, you know, the movement that we are all concerned about.
Well, I think we got a winning plan here, folks. And thank God that we're so close to both of these young ladies, that we can actually put this thing together as a serious proposal. I'm mapping out the steps. Step number one that I'd like to propose is a meeting between Stuart Scott, Silish, myself, Guy, and Ye. Just those 5 people. Cap it at 5. The fewer the better for this first one. And the point of the meeting is to impress upon Stuart Scott both the current magnitude of the problems and the magnitude of the solutions, food and SRM, right? Basically, you remember that scene in The Matrix where like one of the bad guys takes one of the good guys and shakes his hand real hard and goes, me, 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 me. And then the other guy turns into a copy of himself and goes, me too, right? Okay, this is that scene, except instead of one dude shaking Stuart Scott's hand, it's all 4 of us just shaking the heck. Each of us takes a limb and just shakes. Shake, baby, shake. And then Stuart Scott will say, me too. Once Stuart Scott has said, me too, then Stuart talks with Greta. And he talks with her as much as they need to talk, with Greta, with her parents, with whoever he needs to talk to within her entourage, her circles. And says, hey, I've got some, you know, some bad news and some good news. Which you want to hear first? And, you know, here it is. And then the next stage after that is, one second, I just got to get all this in writing. Once Greta is sufficiently briefed by Stuart, then Stuart says, all right, Greta, let's take this to the next level. Let's, you and I, have a meeting with Kamaya and Silish. Those 4 have a meeting. That's the 3rd domino to fall. Don't you love this? This is collective intelligence. We're getting the details worked out. Everybody, go on, unmute your microphone and let's give ourselves an applause. Here we are in block party number 18. You know, what does that make? 500 hours? Getting close to 500 hours of block party under our belts. Thank you, Sarah. All right. At hour 500, we hit on it. And those of you who are here, be very proud of yourselves. And the world owes you a debt of gratitude that it just doesn't know about yet. But we'll, anyway, I know it's not about that. But anyway, so first, a meeting. Stuart, Silas, we're going to call that meeting Me Too. That meeting will be called Me Too, per the Matrix.
I don't know if you should call it Me Too, because the Me Too movement,
Oh, no,
I think that might
just
not
saying,
be a good idea.
I'm just saying between us, not for
Yeah, internally, totally internally.
Yeah, internally it's the Me Too meeting. Because of that scene from The Matrix, is we're going to freaking shake Stuart until he becomes a copy of us. All right. And that will also help to unite the rest of us. Then step number 2, Stuart talks with Greta. Step number 3, whenever Greta's good and ready, Stuart, Kamaya, Silas, and Greta all meet. Those 4, just those 4. And they, kick it around a bit. And then whenever they're all ready, then we have a meeting with the 4 of them and Guy and Ye and myself. Those are the 7 folks who need to be in that meeting. And that 4th and final meeting of the series would be for the ultimate refinement of all this. And then once it's all refined, then the next step is Greta and Kamaya reach out to the big guns of SRM, right? It's like one of those cowboy Western movies. We got to get a whole bunch of big guns together to go after the bad guys. So, that's when they reach out to the big guns of SRM.
The press conference.
Pardon me?
I said there's a press conference in there somewhere.
Well, that comes next. That comes a couple steps later. Because here's the thing. All these steps can happen. I mean, there's no reason these things can't happen once an hour. You see? Because we're all Zoomified. We're all Zombies. So it's Planet of the Zombies, and we needed to get here in order to freaking figure this thing out. Seriously. If we didn't zoom it up for the last 500 hours.
I like that.
Totally.
Planet.
Okay. That's why it's called
Okay, you muted yourself, Sarah. Go ahead, James. Yeah.
Zombie Nation.
Yep. Better zoomed than entombed. How about that? Like better read than dead, better dead than read, better zoomed than entombed. Anyway, whatever. So Greta and Kamaya reach out to the big guns of SRM. And then the next step is those big guns all form into, drumroll, SRM, a united front to cool the planet. SRM, a united front to cool the planet. And then we're ready for a press conference.
collective intelligence. What about SRM
You're breaking up, Sarah, and then you muted yourself.
cooling the planet together? What about SRM cooling the planet together?
SRM, cooling the planet together.
I mean, I don't know. United Front seems to be kind of really wordy. I don't know. United Front seems to be kind of governmenty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Together, sounds more like we're together. We're all together. Happy.
Shiny, happy. Oh, shiny, happy people.
Shiny, happy people.
Shiny, because we'll all be shiny and we'll be holding these mirrors, right? Shiny, happy people, cooling.
How about shiny, happy planet?
Yeah,
shiny, happy planet.
Shiny happy SRM.
Shiny, happy people cooling down.
That's so good.
people chilling out. Shiny, happy people chilling out. That's it. Shiny, happy people chilling out.
Too bad there won't be any shiny, happy polar bears. I mean, really, people just don't realize that polar bears are like about to become extinct
Yeah, no
very
crap.
soon.
Well, you see, and
They're not listening.
see, one of the solutions for SRM, and see, this is, but this wouldn't be focused on initially, because the focus initially is to get us all together and to stop arguing for our own respective, works of art, right? We're like a bunch of kindergartners, each in love with his own freaking work of art, right? Me, look at mine, look at mine, look at mine. It's just like, enough already. Shut up. Go take a nap, right? What we need is a united front. We need shiny, happy people chilling out, cooling down. In fact, let's even have a freaking song to go with the press conference. Whether it's that one or like from the Jackson 5 or whatever. Cool it down. You got to cool it down. Said, ooh, watch out. You're gonna overheat. Cool it down. You got to cool it down. Said, ooh, watch out. You're gonna go extinct. Right?
Hey, did you watch that video, Jamin?
Which one?
The happy feet.
Where
One
is
I
it?
told you. With the penguins.
Oh, yeah. I watched some of that.
Said that you didn't watch it.
What?
You didn't watch the whole thing, eh?
No, not the whole thing, but we watched it. We watched part of it together. So I think we've got the beginnings of a really freaking solid plan here, because look, we've got at the table. Go ahead, Sarah. Sarah, your microphone appears to be muted, but we get like little cracks. Maybe if you type it in, that might be better. I mean, until you get to better signal or something.
I kind of have a better signal now, I think.
Yeah,
What do you think?
You're good. Go,
Sorry.
go.
No, my question was, when you're talking about, well, I mean, I've been reading a lot about the Arctic also, and the Arctic shelf and everything. And they said that it is melting faster than they ever predicted, because they predicted that polar bears will be extinct by 2050, but it's going to be sooner than that. And they also said that the ice is melting in such a way that it's flooding, and it's big trouble right now. Like it's I'm not sure if September is quite the number or the month they said, but it's I don't think people realize it's going to happen, and people are going to be like, what happened? Because they're thinking about the pandemic and not the pandemic is definitely a distraction from this. I know that the pandemic is real because it comes from meat, dairy, and eggs, but it's a major distraction from this. It's scaring me, actually.
Well, like most things in life, it was a big double-edged sword, because among the positives it brought us all together in the Zoomosphere. So now we do have a network of conversations, which is the basis of collective superintelligence. We still have quite a ways to go in that regard. But the good news is that collective superintelligence is going to evolve and grow exponentially quite naturally as we do Operation Cool It Down. Operation, fill up and cool down. Fill up your stomach and cool down the planet. Fill it up and cool it down. Fill it up and cool it down. Ba-bum. Hey, who's that guy with a mullet dancing to the music? Hey, that's Jamin. Who's he? I don't know. But look at those two awesome young ladies, Kamaya and Greta. Oh my goodness, they're making super cool music together. So let's ditch the dude with the mullet and listen to Greta and Kamaya. I dare say we got this. It's been 18 long block parties. And I dare say we got this. And you know what? It's about time. Polar bears going extinct by 2050. They might be extinct by 2021, for crying out loud. An ice-free Arctic? How the heck you can have polar bears in an ice-free Arctic? This is ridiculous. Of course, these young ladies are going to stand up and make and work with us. Of course they are. Step number 1. We got to meet with, it's the Me Too meeting. A meeting with Stuart Scott, where Stuart at the end of it says Me Too. I get it. That's the first domino. No, this was the first domino today. But we wouldn't have had it. We wouldn't have knocked this domino over if we didn't have the meeting, if we didn't have the block party. I'm saying hi to the crows.
How do you promote the block party? Because I think more people, I don't think the block party should be too big, although, I mean, I welcome as many as possible, but I think that you want to have quality. But I think that there's a lot of people that would love to be on this block party. They just don't know about it. So it's kind of like, I know it's like up to us to advertise it, and we do, but it's hard to explain what it is. I just like tell people, just come, so then you can see for yourself. I don't think people get it yet.
No, because the reality is there's a lot to get. You know, you come here and we're talking about SRM and we've got a year to live if we don't do it. That's not exactly, Friday, happy hour or feel good entertainment time, right? It's a lot easier to watch, I don't know, Major League Baseball or something than to listen to this message.
Exactly. People that don't really understand it are just going to look at that look at this for a couple of minutes and go, nah, that's all doomy gloomy stuff. I'm too serious. I'm going watching a movie and putting my head back in the sand while the planet burns.
And by the way, I watch my fair share of movies at night, right? And I won't say exactly what I consume with those movies, but let's just say, I give myself freaking breaks too. So it's I just wanted to share. I'm all about giving ourselves a break. And in the morning, it's time to, pull up those big boy panties and, get to work. To be complete, I should add big girl panties, but I didn't want to sound, like, I didn't want to say that. But I'm okay saying big boy panties. The bottom line is we all got to pull up our big panties and get to work.
Jim, what's the schedule like without going to the schedule again?
Yeah, in 17 minutes, we got Michael Gaio joining with, let me find out what the title of his talk today is going to be. It's not up to date on the website. Unfortunately, Nolan hasn't updated it yet. Okay, here it is. The Meaning of Meaning, and an introduction to the Mythos platform. That's his platform that he's launching. Mythos. The Meaning of Meaning. But we'll, of course, give him an update of what we're talking about first. And then that way, he can probably even reference it, because I mean, this is it. This is the thing we need to be focused on. Isn't it kind of hilarious that of all the people that of the number one thing that the world needs to be focused on, less than 1 in a billion of us are working on it right now, namely 5 of us. 1 in a billion would be 8 of us. We're not even 1 in a billion. We need to get to the 1 in a billion mark. But the cool thing is, by the time we get to 1 in a million, we'll be 8,000 strong. And that's roughly the number we need to just frickin' exponentiate like crazy from that point forward. We'll be at a super critical mass at that point. But in the meantime, God bless each and every one of you who's here. Emery, Jackie, James, Sarah, God bless you.
Hey, I'm Jamin.
Yeah.
Jane Velez Mitchell speaking to our group on Divine Feminine next Friday. And I'd love for you to tell her about the solar radiation management in layman's terms, kind of how like BJ explained the white paper to everybody at Vegan World 2026. Remember, she explained it kind of like, so it'd be like understanding for first graders kind of way, kind of something like that. Because, you know, Jane has been a, you know, a journalist for 40 years, you know, so, you know, she used to have her own show on Headline News on HLN called Issues. She's best-selling, you know, New York best-selling author, like 4 times over. So she did the movie, you know, the documentary Countdown to Year Zero. So I don't know if you've seen that, but that's, of course, Dr. Rao helped with that. And yeah, I would love for you guys to really kind of like, we should really get her involved in all of this. And our network is 70 people. So that's another 70 people to the 8,000. I mean, I just think that we should get the people that really know and will really get on board and be able to get media all over the world, because we have contributors all over the world.
Well, yeah, I mean, but your network is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, what's the size of her audience, right? She must have a pretty substantial audience, I would imagine. Anyway, you're on mute. There you go.
Over 1 million. Yeah, over 1 million. Yeah,
Well,
millions used to watch her show every night. Yeah, yeah.
Well, there you have it. So, you know, once she, you know, gets this, and what's there not to get, right? You know, 30 years ago, you could say, I don't believe in global warming. In 2020, it's kind of hard to make that case, right? It's just really, really hard, right? So we need a solution, and we need one now, not, you know, in 2050 or something, right? Anyway, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. Sarah, we're getting a bit of feedback on your microphone. Unless you're waiting to say something, just jump in.
Oh gosh, my microphone's on.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Sorry about that, dude. I'm walking Boomer outside.
Hey, Boomer, Boomer.
Yeah, my vegan beagle. He's almost 16. He's living proof of dogs can live on a vegan diet longer than dead, you know, animal body parts.
Wow. And he must be pretty peaceful.
He's the best. He's the greatest dog ever.
Wow. Boomer. Awesome. Anyway, so, I mean, it's just like, what's there not to get? Everybody gets that the planet is exponentially overheating. We're about to have an ice-free Arctic. Polar bears are going extinct. Everybody's going extinct. Hello. And I know Jane Villas Mitchell gets that. The question is she ready to hear the solution? Because the solution is very different from anything that anyone's been talking about out in public in the sphere of solutions. What have they been talking about? Drawdown and veganism, right? Decarbonizing and veganism. That's what people are talking about. And then, yeah, you got some fringe talking about holistic land management, that's going to solve everything. Alan Savory, et cetera. You got some other, folks talking about some fringe this, that, the other. Currently, we look like a fringe solution. That's just the reality. SRM looks fringe until you really take a good look at it. Melissa's calling. Let me take this super quick. I'll be right back.
And then my harebrained. And you get my harebrained idea.
I think I missed what you said, Emery.
I said, and then you get my harebrained idea.
No, it's a very interesting idea. We got to explore all this stuff, right? But I think what we got to focus on first is the United Front, not on specific ideas, but on just the general idea of reflecting sunlight back into space. I know your idea goes beyond that. Other ideas go beyond it too. But the bottom line is we need SRM, and that's it. That's the only thing that can possibly do it at this point, and we got to do it very, very quickly. And I think we've got the domino pathway to get there. Jane Unchained could definitely amp it up. So in 1 week, we've got Jane Unchained, Jane on the Divine Feminine. That's our moment. That's the opportunity. And so Sarah, since Jane totally trusts you, obviously, if you wouldn't mind coordinating with Jackie, who's here right now, and Myra and Melissa, or maybe just talk with Jackie, and then Jackie can sort it out with Myra and Melissa. But basically say, hey, how about it? Could we carve out some time, whether at the beginning, the middle, probably not the end because we need some time to talk about it, but either at the beginning or the middle, can Sarah have a spot to say, hey, Jane, we've planned to have a conversation with you about XYZ. We just want to bring this to your attention, da-da-da. Jamin, would you please, da-da-da, and I'll be happy to. In fact, I might even be able to get Ye Tao to show up and Guy McPherson, and then she can get the straight dope from them. And I'll say, look, we need to be concise about it, you guys. Guy, can you describe the problem in 5 minutes and the severity and the urgency? And Ye, can you describe the solution in 5 minutes and the severity and the urgency? And so that Jane gets it in 10. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming, because I could get up there and wing it. But, she might think, homeboy's just another dude with a mullet. What does this guy with a mullet know? But, in the worst case, her perception of me could be, so guess what? I was like reading some science fiction books, and there's like this idea to put like, mirrors and stuff. And like, she's like, who is this loser? Right? But,
well, she already made the documentary Countdown to Year Zero, so she knows that there's a problem, obviously. So she wants to hear about SRM, but like I said, you got to explain it in layman's terms to all of us because none of us are science. I mean, I'm speaking for me and Jane. We're not scientists. You know what I mean? But she's got a lot of connections, and she obviously wants to follow through on the mission too. I mean, we're all here for the greater good of saving this earth, right?
That's why she needs to hear it from the experts, because that will make us sit up and listen.
Yeah, what I'm saying is this dude with a mullet, who's not a professor, doesn't have a PhD, has no children, and does not live in Manhattan. She's going to look at me and, loser with a mullet. But bring in Professor Guy McPherson and Dr. Yetow of Harvard, okay, then I think that'll be way more effective. That's all I'm saying. And sounds like James agrees. Back to you.
Agree, and she'll probably want to have Guy McPherson on her Voice America radio show, because she does a radio show every Monday, and it's broadcast out of Arizona. And even though she doesn't do it in Arizona, it's broadcasted through Voice America is out of Phoenix, Arizona, and that's where Dr. Rao and Jane did their radio show during Vegan World 2026.
No,
so
I was there.
She'll definitely want. Oh yeah, you were. That's right. Oh, yeah. I forgot. You remember. So she'll want to do that with Guy McPherson, but we don't know how busy Guy McPherson is. If he's too busy for us, that's
no. He'll be game. You
oh, good, because I mean, this guy is like freaking amazing. Like Jane loves Dr. Rao. So if this guy is like knows Dr. Rao and knows what things like Dr. Rao knows, and like that's Jane. She wants in. We need to she's going to be very interested in this guy, because she's probably going to be wondering why I didn't tell her about this guy. Like, why didn't you tell me about him? I didn't know about him until just the other day when he was speaking. I knew about him, but I didn't know about him. You know what I mean? Didn't know.
I knew
exactly. It came out. Whew, it was amazing, man. This guy is amazing. No pun intended. Guy is Guy.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, once I hear back from Jackie, Myra, and Melissa, if they're game, I will very happily reach out to Guy and Ye and invite them to come for the Jane Unchained segment. All right, I'm seeing some thumbs up from Jackie. You see how we can work everything out if we just get together and talk? Or as my sister Jackie and I separated at birth, she might say, since she grew up in New York, can we talk? Can we talk? 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 Can we talk? Can we talk? Can we talk? Can we talk, man? Can we talk? I want to talk. 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 TWOK. Talk. Talk. Just by talking about it, we sort all this stuff out. And then we keep building on top of previous stuff that we'd sorted out. Right?
Question for you, Jim.
Yo.
Given the fact that I have the seed of an idea, how would you recommend, give me a recommendation as to how I would go about doing an actual presentation of it? What would you suggest that I do as far as like an initial breakdown of the idea? Do I include some amount of research, like, or a vision of how it would work? Like, what do I need to put this down on paper, or do a video about it to make a presentation? Let's say I want to have some feedback, or inspire 24 students from from the university to put their heads to it, and see if it's a viable thing. Where do I begin to do this? I mean, I thought of just, hinting at it to Guy the other day there, but it wasn't the right moment to do anything.
Yeah. Here's what makes sense to me as regards your idea. Very long and relatively narrow cylinders of ice that, when I say relatively narrow, I'm talking in relative terms. So the thing might be 100 yards wide, right? But maybe like, literally a mile long, right? So way longer than it is wide, and it'd be like a cylinder. And then set up a system of sails to sail that up, right? Figure out the best ocean route, right? And then sail that thing up there, right? And get a whole bunch going, all with sails. It'll be slow going, but hey, The sooner we start, the sooner they'll get there, you know. And some innovative solution like that doesn't require a ton of energy and that can move, you know, millions of tons of ice, if not billions.
What's the cylinder part? I didn't get that.
Just shaped as a cylinder. So just like, you know, kind of like a, you know, like a kayak or something like that.
Because you know, there are already existing icebergs, or you know, there is the possibility of mining the ice from the shelf, from the ice shelf, which you know, again, that would be another initiative that would have, like, I mean, the equipment for all that, and the infrastructure to do all that would have to be shipped in. You know, that's a major thing. Mind you, there are already sizes of pieces of icebergs the size of Cuba that could be, you know, floated out further north, you know, or tugged or whatever.
Well, something the size of Cuba, to try to tug that through the water would take an enormous amount of energy, which is why I'm suggesting that, yes, mine the ice, but then form it, have basically giant, you know, forms, giant molds in which to, or, you know, machinery even, to go section by section and compress it into this cylindrical shape, right?
Well, that more energy. You know, I've already seen technology of them tugging massive freaking icebergs. They tug it.
Yeah, but the question is a matter of economics and scale. Will that scale up? What's the unit cost? Can we do it both less expensively and at less environmental footprint, right? Those are the big questions.
Yeah, I mean,
and
spare no cash at this point. And you know, as far as the environment goes, it's gone to shit already. So, you know, look, we're at last resorts here.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But again, back to my I've just given you some ideas as to what I would research, what I would look into if I were you. But also be prepared just to come to the table with the idea and ask for help, because other people may have the skills, may have some skills that you lack in terms of doing exactly the kind of analysis that's needed. And that's a big part of collective intelligence. And for example, when we were talking, Michael, welcome. Yeah, I think you're on mute by default, so I'll let you manage that. There you go. Yeah. Hey.
Hi.
Hey, Michael, how's it going?
Going very well. How are you doing?
Good, good. Let me stop this recording so we can start a fresh one with you.